the cosmology. And that's he's a Princeton professor. He spent almost his whole life at Princeton. And the citation is the theoretical discoveries in physical cosmology. Yeah. More or less the picture we have seen in the previous slide, the cosmology. Now we have a picture, and it really give us a foundation, how to analyze, how to study our universe. And this is what the citation is to award him the Nobel Prize. And actually, he have obtained so many prizes, and I just highlight a few. The Shaw Prize. Everybody knows Shaw. Warren Shaw is a filmmaker in Hong Kong. The filmmaker development. They make Jackie Chan, Lee Hsien-loong, movie. Yeah, the price, the money is quite big, more than Nobel Prize. Yeah, and the other one is especially in high energy, the Dirac medal. The Dirac medal is some kind of Nobel Prize, and I highlighted them. Okay. And okay, and I just read here the James Booth talk on. This is the you can find it on the Nobel Prize website. The James Peebles talk on the cosmos with billions of galaxies. Theoretical framework developed over 2 decades, a long time. It's the foundation of our modern understanding of the universe history from the Big Bang to the present time. This is the Carnegie citation. And of course, Jim Peters was reviewed by the news. He said, when I think this is very interesting to me. When I started working in this subject, I can tell you the date, 64. Yeah. At the invitation of my mentor, Professor Dickey. Dickey is very interesting. We will see later. I was very uneasy about going into this subject because experimental observational basis was so modest, a few. And I keep going. People said during the Nobel News Conference by phone, which particular step? This is the important work, like work. Yeah. I want to pick thing from here, from his sentence, from this sentence. This I have the same feeling. I was very uneasy about 2 subjects. Yeah, when I was deciding should I do cosmology, yeah, at that time I picked cosmology, but I didn't tell my father I'm doing cosmology. Yes, cosmology was that science fiction or something. that I share the same feeling at that time. I'm in the 80, yeah, it's 64, 20 years before me. Yeah, you can imagine how hard the decision was. And again, you said this one. The Taiwan journalist is really quick. I remember they announced Nobel around 5 p.m. in the afternoon, and I received phone call from a journalist. Yeah, around 6. Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know the Jim Peoples Nobel Prize. And of course, the journalist asked me what important step he took in order to get this Nobel Prize. And the same, I'm very hard pressed to say what, because I sometimes you say, Einstein electromagnetic effect, some effect, or because of this effect you got Nobel Prize. But I could not say name anyone. But the astrophysicist, he told me that they didn't have some people's effect, but I couldn't remember. Yeah, even today. Yeah, but I don't know. Yeah, I will say why. Why I say I don't know. Yeah, and his physics advisor Dickey is very interesting. He's a theorist and also an experimentalist. Yeah, everybody knows that Dickey, scalar tensor theory of gravitation, is some alternative to Einstein. Modification to Einstein theory. They add a scale. Everybody know Einstein theory is tensor theory of gravitation, and Dickey they add a scalar into this tensor structure and make it more interesting. And again, I said he's an experimentalist, and actually he invented this radiometer. We will see it. It's very important trick in observing CMB. Yeah. So, and then after the journalist asked me why James Peeble was awarded the Nobel Prize, then I could not say anything clear. Then I feel very bad. Then I go back to read his. I found one of his really good article, the Seeing Cosmology Grow. Yeah, really, it starts from 60 and then all the way along with cosmology, and he's really see cosmology grow. And this article is just not very long, just about 7 years ago. And I noticed that in his reference, he lists about 200 reference. Okay, I should say something. I met him once in a conference and talked to him once for 5 minutes, maybe. Yeah, I forgot. And at that time, I think, this professor is very humble, very quiet. This is my impression on him, and I believe him. I believe his review article. He lists 200 reference, and you know how many papers by Peebles? About 30 single author and 20 co-author. So it's about 1/4 of the reference. You see, 1/4. That means you can see. I believe he's very honest. Yeah, he really do a very honest job to write this review article. And you can. I just want to tell you, he weight in theoretical cosmology almost 1/4. Yeah, I will about that. 1/4. You can see how important his contribution to this theoretical cosmology. 1/4 of the reference is written by him or his collaborator. Then I want to say why he was awarded the Nobel Prize, you know, in founding theoretical cosmology, because he really make contribution to this theoretical cosmology. And also, of course, everybody knows a very three important textbook. Where, for example, this one, and this one. These two are really early textbook for cosmology. Although I hate to read people's textbook. I like one, but anyway, this is one of the few textbooks you can find in early days. Yeah, when I was a student, for example. And I also picked two papers. Yeah, that may be interesting.
So why did you hate this textbooks? Why did you hate this textbooks?
Maybe because I was trained as a high energy physicist. I like from the first Lagrangian and then the world, but his book wasn't like that. Yeah,
his work is more observational. Everything is tied to observation, and so I can understand why he is not useful.
So it's very. I guess it was very useful for Professor Chen when he is doing cosmology. And I identified two early paper. This is really early. Yeah, this is really early. And cosmic microwave background and anisotropy is really early. And at that time, of course, we didn't measure the anisotropy, but later we will see we observe the cosmic microwave background, the temperature, we call it monopole. And of course, but once you absorb it, then the theories are interesting to know more about the CMB. And this is one of the early papers. It's really early, 70, talking about anisotropy. And this one, when Kobe observed the anisotropy in 90, and at that time we very interested in this anisotropy and want to jump into this CMB business. Of course, we need to read papers, not many papers about CMB anisotropy. This is not an easy physics to understand at that time. And People's paper is one of the reference, my reference, to understand the CMB and isotopy. And I noticed that there's one Chinese name here, Yu. Yeah, I think Yu quite for long. In the beginning, I think I cannot find it. And finally, I found it. It's his first student from Hong Kong, and now he is in City University of Hong Kong. Yeah, yes, some some small, especially small school back to this ceremony, and it also indicated that it's not easy for cosmology to find a job. Okay. But not now. Yeah, but not now. And another one is very interesting. Actually, it was Peoples who invented the word cold dark matter. Cold dark matter. Now it's particle physics use the cold dark matter a lot, even in cosmology, the cold dark matter. And in this paper, the candidate for cold dark matter was WIMPs. We really call it WIMPs, weakly interacting mass particles. He invented this word. And there, it's not fair. At 82 is few papers talking about the WIMPs. Yeah. And People's paper, he talked about KeV. Of course, today we look at this KeV WIMP, we will love it. This is warm dark matter, it's not cold dark matter. At that time, it's cold enough because the data is not that good. And also there, of course, this related to his many works on the large-scale structure formation. Okay, in addition to that, to those I mentioned in the last slide, actually, the dark people also wrote with his student, Watcher. The very first paper to use the scalar field to drive the. Of course, this paper is AA, and we don't know the universe is accelerating. But at that time, they somehow cook up some so-called, now we call it dark energy. But at that time, there's a Brownian scalar model to have the possibility of for accelerating universe today. And you can see this is really one of the first citations. Is over 35,000 citations. Yeah, so Peoples, you can see why he really cover almost all important areas in modern cosmology.
Sorry, about the first paper.
Yeah.
What's the difference between this one and the earlier inflation paper? Earlier inflation.
It's not inflation, it's quintensis model, for example. Later on we call it quintensis. It's standard quintensis.
This word is always tidal observation. So it's not inflation. Inflation is not observable.
It's a quintensis stuff. Yeah. It's a dark energy. Okay, and now today the cosmology, how the from the Asian cosmology, and then now it's really some scientific one, cosmology, and then move to the modern precision cosmology today. And actually, there's two main periods for this attachment: the CMB mentioned, and isotopy, and also polarization and large-scale structure. And these two areas, the people wrote a lot of papers on these two subjects, and you can see what was the current status and also the future of this subject. Because the Asian cosmology, we have to talk about the BC, for example, Aristotle. The Earth is in the center, and then move to the Sun is the center. Of course, this is not really modern science, and everybody knows the theory of relativity. You can treat everywhere as the center. But it's just for convenience. Sometimes you can use the Earth as the center, and sometimes you can use the Sun as the center to describe your cosmology. And now we don't use either Earth or Sun. We use for example, very convenient frame is the CMB frame, and this is what we are using to describe our universe. And we have seen that before, and this field graph is really for students. We know there's dark energy is around this amount, dark matter is this amount, and background matter is only 4 to 5%. And there's, of course, there's evidence. There's evidence. We have to have evidence in modern cosmology. And for example, the evidence for dark matter is large-scale capture. We will come to see more about it. And the gravitational lensing. And gravitational lensing means the background. The background is a bright galaxy, and the light passing through the dark halo, the dark matter halo, and the light is bent and form a distort, and you can see that this distortion by the dark matter halo in between the bright galaxy and us. And also the really sounding evidence for dark matter is the collider galaxies. And two galaxies collide, and cold dark matter pass through each other because they are rims. They're really interacting massive particles. They pass through each other without with a little collisions. And remaining at the center is a hot barrier. And this is a very sounding evidence for the existence of dark matter in our universe. And dark energy, for example, very long, there's 3 pieces of evidence for dark energy. In the year of 2000, they used the so-called standard candle method, the supernovae, and to measure the expansion rate of the universe. And they found that at the present day, our universe is not this accelerating as we thought before, because we thought this because of the gravitational fall after the Big Bang, the gravitational should pull back the explosion, so it should slow down and decelerating. But no, the supernovae evidence show that our universe is accelerating due to the presence of dark energy, because they are so-called negative pressure or anti-gravity. And the other strong evidence CMB, and also the last structure. We can see that this is the supernovae result on the matter abundance, and also the dark energy abundance. One means the whole universe is dark matter. Also, if this one means the whole universe is dominated by dark energy, and this is the supernovae result. There's a big error, and luckily we have independent measurement. This CMB, and also the last structure, BAO, and we have a very good thing. They overlap with each other, and the number we have seen before: 70% dark energy and 30% dark matter. Okay, and from cosmology to precision cosmology, usually people use the measurements of Hubble constant to give a very good example how our knowledge about our universe evolved with time. And this is time, date back to 1920 and today. This is the measurement of the Hubble constant. Hubble constant means the expansion rate at present time. And this is the number 600, start with 600 and then go down to 100 and then converge to this one. Yeah. And this is around 70. This is the, what they say, how the knowledge or the measurement of the universe evolved with time. And even around the 80, when I was a student, usually they quote the Hubble constant is 100 plus or minus 100, something like that. It's a 100% error, and now we have a few percent error. So that's why modern cosmology, really precision cosmology now, even though we have so-called we have very good measurement of the Hubble constant, and it turns to a stage we have so-called tension. This is current status about the Hubble constant tension. What is a tension? We divided two different kinds of measurements. The early, so-called early measurements. Early means from CMB, from large scale structure. Yeah, very large scale measurements. We call early measurements. And this is the Hubble constant. It's around, we draw the 67, and plus a very few percent error. This is error bar. Yeah. Another category of measurement is we call it late measurements. Use the standard candle method, for example, supernovae or other standard candles. And this is their, we call this local measurement because they're near. We use the standard candle is at redshift 0.11, at most 2. That's why we call local or late measurements. And the error bar is bigger, and this is the supernovae or measurements anyway. A lot of different standard candles to measure Hubble constant. And you can see this is really a tension between the early measurements and local measurement or late measurement. And what's the how large the tension? It's around 5 sigma tension. In cosmology, usually, may I say complete the sentence? In cosmology, usually we have a detection of 1 sigma. CMB, for example, COBE. 1 sigma detection of the anisotropy. Wow. Everybody join into this field, 1 sigma. But in particle physics, it's 5 sigma for detection. And now our cosmology have 5 sigma tension. So we really a big tension in cosmology. Okay.
Why is DES and BAO be categorized as early observation?
You mean this one?
Yes.
Do I have? I don't have this. They use this as it's just a name. Yeah. This one use standard candles. Standard candles. You have standard candle, you know the distance, and then you can measure.
But BAO and DES measure the galaxy.
Yeah,
distribution.
the large scale structure.
Right.
So we just call it early.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think it's early?
I mean, BAO is certainly a galaxy survey, so
Yeah.
So it is conceivable a late time measurement, right?
Yeah, it's just a name. Yeah, this is standard candle, and this is the CMB and large scale structure. The method is totally different.
No, I believe they assume some lambda CDM model.
Yeah.
Right. So my question was just concerning the name of early about BAO and DES. I think it's kind of absurd unless there is some hidden assumptions there that is unstated here.
So I should say that assume northern CDM and fit the power spectrum. This I call it or you don't like it or large scale structure measurement. You can say large scale measurement. And this one are all based on standard candle method.
All right. Oh, sorry to interrupt.
Oh, yeah. Please, if any questions, just stop me. Yeah. Okay. And now we come to the two pillars for modern cosmology, and one of them is CMB. And CMB is the relic photon from the hot Big Bang. We firstly observed it in 65, and at that time it's not 3 Kelvin. It's around 5 Kelvin. Yeah, and they are coming from very early universe here, the so-called the last scattering surface. At that time, the photon had too low energy to excite hydrogen atom. And since then, they propagate freely from the last scattering surface to the present time. So when we observe the CMB, we observe the very early universe at redshift announcement. Compared to this astronomical observation, usually we talk about redshift 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's, compared to the 1000 is really late time. So we can observe by observing CMB, we can see the universe at very early time, and it's not only they have a temperature around 3 Kelvin, they also carry the anisotropy and polarization. I will explain this one later on. And these two anisotropy and polarization are very useful to measure cosmological parameter in your cosmological models. Okay, just jump ahead. And this is the CMB milestone. CMB is really mature the field already. And as I said, 65, they use this big horn to measure the temperature of the CMB. Now we know it's 3 Kelvin. And they got a Nobel Prize after about 10 years. And people try to measure the anisotropy since then, since 65, and until many 30 years later. And this is the COBE satellite experiment to map the temperature fluctuation or the CMB anisotropy on the last scan surface. And they also got a Nobel Prize, this work. And come with the WMAP in this year. And this is the Princeton group, mainly Princeton group. And they got, because of the measurements, they got the Shaw Prize and also the Pickford Prize. And later, another 10 years, this is Planck mission. And they also map the CMB anisotropy. Anisotropy means from different directions. The fluctuation from the mean. The fluctuation from the mean is called this CMB anisotropy. That from the experiment, you are told that the temperature of the CMB is different in different directions. This is we call CMB anisotropy. And also, starting from 2000, they also try to measure the polarization of the CMB. And what is the polarization of CMB? You point your antenna in direction. You measure the temperature of the CMB and subtract from the mean and give you the temperature fluctuation or CMB anisotropy. And now you do one more thing to measure the polarization. You just put a polarizer and measure the temperature and rotate your polarizer by 90 degrees, and you measure the temperature again and subtract these two numbers. It give you the polarization of the CMB in that particular direction. This is called CMB polarization. And since the year 2000, they also measure the CMB polarization. And the Planck, this is not the Planck. The Planck, I'm not sure the Planck will get the Nobel Prize or other prize or not. And this is just show the, this is Peebles. I wrote down Peebles because Peebles, he said CMB is very important in modern cosmology. So I just put his name on this CMB milestone. Yeah, it's the Shaw Prize and also the Nobel Prize. So in CMB, there's a lot of war. Yeah, in this. Okay, and this is CMB I described already. The CMB anisotropy is the temperature from one particular direction minus the mean, and the polarization described by two numbers, the Q and U Stokes parameters. And as mentioned before, what's the Q? The Q is the polarizer in one direction, and subtract the temperature in another polarizer temperature, and the Q as well. Okay, and since you have a whole sky data, whole sky data, and in each pointing, you have the CMB anisotropy or CMB fluctuation in that particular direction, and also in that particular direction, you have linear polarization, and we use the Q and U Stokes parameters to describe this linear polarization. Since you have a whole, at the end of the day experiment, you have a whole sky data, so you can, for previous, we like to expand the whole sky data in terms of screw harmonics. And for Q and U, a little bit, because Q and U depend on where you put your polarizer, is coordinate dependent. So I need to expand in terms of so-called spin tools parameter. It's not the main subject of this. So from this expansion coefficients, we can construct four independent so-called power spectrum. The T here, constructing the A, some of RM, we call anisotropy power spectrum. And for the polarization, we don't use Q and U anymore, because Q and U are coordinate dependent stuff. It's not really useful for us to compare with theory. So usually we decompose the Q and U into two independent components, so-called the E-type E pattern and the B pattern. Yeah, in Jackson's book, we learned you can always decompose a two-dimensional vector into some divergency and divergence-free component, two components. This is called E-mode. It looks like a E field, and this is called B-mode. It looks like B magnetic field. So from Q and U, we construct so-called the E-mode polarization and the B polarization power spectrum. And since I don't have time to talk about the correlation this time, so okay, what's the theoretical prediction? And this is a CTL, something like this, and this is the so-called E polarization, and this is the B polarization. This is B polarization. And L is the multiple number. For small l, you mean you're looking at large angular scale, the whole universe. And for big L, that means you're looking at very small scale, the fluctuation on small scale. And this is the power of the fluctuation. This will remind you, in micro Kelvin level, it's very difficult, very small. So that's why it takes us so long to measure this anisotropy and polarization. Okay, any questions? Okay, now I don't want to give you a very heavy talk today. Today is a colloquium and also introduction to CM Nobel Prize. I just want to introduce some basics in CMB and just return to history. And before the COBE is really a milestone. They observed the CMB anisotropy, and this is a situation on the measurements of CMB fluctuation. This is the so-called CMB anisotropy, the temperature fluctuation. Everywhere the temperature is a little bit different from the mean temperature. And you can see this angular scale means L, the multiple L. Yeah, equivalent, a different name. Yeah. You can see the measurements like something like that and something like that. There's field data and also it's only an upper limit. Sometimes you have a detection, but nobody believe it. Yeah. And I attended this conference in '88. I was a graduate student back then. And one day I saw the room is really full of people. I don't know why, because I don't know much about CMB at that time. Yeah. And two main boss, one from Princeton, the Wilkinson, and another one from Berkeley. This represents the east side of the US, and this is the west side of the US. George Bush percent. Actually, the same thing, but we have to because they are both two big balls in the west and in the east. Now, of course, now I understand why, because there's around the COVID time, yeah, everybody knows to see if COVID can detect this anisotropy. And this is COVID. Yeah. COVID, and this is the COVID satellite, and on board there's three main instruments. Today we are talking about, okay, we will touch on this of Ferrous. We launch the COVID into space, and after a few minutes, the Ferrous measured the temperature of the CMB and the spectrum. This is the wavelength of the CMB, and this is the intensity. And they measure the temperature of the CMB is this number, is black, to 1,000, 1 in accuracy. And you cannot see the error bar. Actually, there's an error bar. Error bar is a very small error bar. And this spectrum actually is the back body Planck spectrum with this number. So the first really precise measurement of the present temperature of the universe. And the CMB is a back body radiation at this temperature, as predicted by the theorists, cosmologists. And this is the other one, the CMB, the differential microwave radiometer. They measure the temperature fluctuation on the sky, the temperature difference from the mean on the sky in different directions. And this, I mentioned before, there's a Dickey. He invented this DMR. And this is well known as Dickey switch. Dickey switch is compare the temperature from two different directions. This is Jim Peebles' physics advisor at Princeton. And this is the DMR, COBE DMR result. They saw the fluctuation, the temperature fluctuation on the sky. And there's the resolution at that time is 7 degrees only. The starting point of CMB anisotropy measurement in 90. Of course, since Kobe saw the anisotropy, and it kind of confirmed the cosmological model, and a lot of theories jump into this business. So I call it Kobe CMB theory, and around 5 years around this time. And we and also another postdoc at AS, is also jump into this game. We mainly analyze the polarization, CMB polarization. At that time, of course, polarization is really a fancy thing because the sensitivity is very high in order to observe this polarization. And there's all of them are very young. It's a very young star in CMB business. And I don't have time to introduce one by one. I just pick why I put down this field graph because Peebles is the main theme of our talk. Okay, I would like to say Peng Wei, everybody knows. Yeah, now he's in Canada. He's graduated from Princeton. And Seljack was a professor at Princeton. He moved to Berkeley. And Chaturanga now is in IAS, Princeton IAS. So Steinhardt he moved from UPenn to Princeton. And Wu is an IAS postdoc, Princeton IAS postdoc. So many Princeton people. So many people ask why this other very famous cosmologist, why people get the prize? You have to have some politics. You can see this is Princeton grant. Also, the WMAP, the headquarters is Princeton. So you need to have some star to manifest the moon. Yeah, this is and after COVID, this field developed very, very fast, including experiment and theories. Yeah, and this is called post-COVID. And what's the year? I forgot. It's 5 years after COVID measure. You can say the seed. This is the seed. They try to measure the CTL. This is the multiple L. You can see the shapes. It's out there. The shape is out there. Yeah. And now we jump to 2008, the WMAP, and they have this is CTL, the measurement. Yeah. And the red curve is the theoretical prediction, based on so-called, we call it the lambda CDM model. And they also detect the correlation between the temperature and the polarization. This is the WMAP result in 2008. And 2008, and you see the polarization is we have seen that the level of polarization is at 1 order of magnitude below the anisotropy is many times more difficult to observe in the experiment. And this is the data, the WMAP taken. You can see this is a EE. It's a big error bar. And now this is already 10 years later. This is 2018, last year. And we've seen that this is Planck image of the CMB anisotropy and also the polarization of the sky. And this is the blue solid line is the theoretical prediction, and the red dot is the data. It's quite amazing. In cosmology, you can have such a big coincidence between theory and experimental data. And this is the correlation, the TE correlation, and this is the E polarization. Yeah, again, you can see how well the theory predict and how well the measurement have taken to prove the theory. And so-called now we have so-called the Planck best fit 6-parameter lambda CDM model in the year of 2018. And I cannot see. Okay, never mind. Yeah, this is the baryon. How much baryon and how much quota matter, and what is the acoustic scale, and what is the optical depth from now to the last gain surface, and also this is the amplitude of the fluctuation, or so forth. And another important parameter to measure is the spectral index. The spectral index is described by this is the density fluctuation, the density perturbation or fluctuation, because it's scalar. It describes the fluctuation at different scale, the density fluctuation at different scale. Yeah. Just like you have a galaxy, just now we talked about the galaxy survey, the distribution of the galaxy, and you Fourier transform it into the K-space. And this is the power spectrum, the Fourier transform of the galaxy survey distribution. And usually we write the amplitude of the fluctuation, AS, and we measured already. And also another important parameter is the NS, the spectral index. If NS equal to 1, strictly equal to 1, we call this scale invariant power spectrum, independent of K. But somehow the measured value is very close to 1, but not really exactly 1. It's around 0.97. And this is the state-of-art measurement of the knowledge extract from the data. It's the 6-parameter, only 6 parameter to fit our whole universe. And this is called the 6-parameter lambda CDM model. Of course, you would like to know more about universe. And usually, the next one is you like to use the TensorMode, and we use the R, the parameter, to describe how much tensor. Tensor means gravitational wave. What's the gravitational wave? We call this primordial gravitational wave. And 2 years ago, it's a big news in Taiwan, and one of the PI, Guo Zhaolin, they measure the echoes. They call it echoes. The echoes of the hot Big Bang. When hot Big Bang start, we generate a lot of gravitational wave. They are going to measure the CMB BMO. We have BMO to indirectly measure how much gravitational wave generated from this hot Big Bang. We call this R ratio, the TensorMode. And the scalar we have seen there is the density perturbation. And the R ratio is the power spectrum of the gravitational wave generated in the hot Big Bang compared to the scalar perturbation. It's not scale. And this is the Planck data. And they could not detect positive detection of any gravitational wave generated from the Big Bang. They put a 10%, 0.1. Yeah, this is at most 10% from the data. And so in CMB business, we have seen the CMB anisotropy. We have measured the E polarization, the next target, another holy grail, CMB holy grail, and another Nobel Prize, I'm sure, is the CMB BMO. And there's an experimental effort to trace after this BMO. We have seen that the BMO power spectrum is around, this one is the BMO. This one is the BMO generated by primordial gravitational wave, the TensorMode. And this BMO is it's not the BMO induced by gravitational wave. This is a BMO because, but we call this lensing BMO. The lensing BMO. What's the lensing BMO? We have measured the EMO on the large scale surface. When this EMO polarization passes through the large scale structure, and the light wave will be distorted slightly by the large scale structure. And because of this distortion, some EMO will convert into BMO. We call this lensing BMO. And theoretically, we believe the signal is there, is something like this. And a few years ago, of course, there's a big news. The BISAC claim they detect the BMO induced by the tensor. The data really look like the theoretical detection. Really look like, yeah. This lensing BMO has been detected by several experiments, including polar bear. You see next slide. And this is the theoretical detection. The BISAC came, they saw this BMO induced by TensorMode. Yeah, it looks like it is, but somehow, unfortunately, it's not. Yeah, and this is the really this year data. And I said this the lensing BMO here, this is the theoretical detection. We have several experiments. Some this is the Southpole experiment. This is in Chile. They have some kind of detection with a big error bar, because this, remind you, this is the signal is at microkelvin level. It's very difficult experiment. And this is the red one is the BISAC data. And because BISAC is only have one frequency, they could not tell more about it except this fluctuation level. And the Planck people say, no, your signal is not the tensor induced BMO is due to the dust, because Planck have multi-frequency measurement. And you can use this multi-frequency subtraction scheme to test the dust emission. Yeah, they confirm this signal is due to dust, not the CMB, not the gravitational wave induced BMO. Okay, and this is the current understanding on the R ratio. And this is the spectral index, the scaled spectral index we are seeing, and this is the R ratio. This is R ratio. And this map is from after BICEP. They have cracked away. It's a BICEP-like observation with few more away. And this is a few 4 years ago data, and this is a measurement on the polarization. And combined with prime data, with the BICEP crack data, and they could put the most stringent limit on the ratio R is around 6%. Yeah. There could not be more than 6% gravitational wave contribute to this CMB and isotropy and polarization. And this is the current result on the BMO search. And what's the future of CMB? And we have seen the development, the CMB observation from really now, today we look at very primitive, yeah. It's a very big horn and evolve, and then something like this. Yeah, long time ago, it's about 10, 20 horn, big horn. But now you have 1,000, maybe several thousand, 10, 20,000 horn on a substrate, on a wafer. And that's why the CMB measurement is, the sensitivity increased enormously in a few decades. This one is first generation, second generation, and third generation. Now we talk about the future, the fourth generation, stage 4, CMB stage 4. We have several projects going on. In China, there's ARIES CPT, and I think NTU participated in this project. They're BICEP-like, although they don't like to use the word BICEP-like. It's a BICEP-like experiment, but put it on in China, in the west side of China, and also the Japanese space satellite library. And NASA also have a future plan for satellite, also ground-based CMB stage 4. And what's the theoretical projection? If R is really 1%, and this is the projection for the detection, something like this, we have very precise detection of the ratio R, if R is really 1%. And if we are not lucky enough, and they put a constraint on R, and what level? They put about 0.1% then. So it's I can't imagine now. Even 10 years ago, you cannot imagine in the future we can measure the R as low as 0.1%. Okay. Well, we have talked about finished the CMB part. Let's move to another pillar of modern cosmology, the large-scale structure of the universe. Yeah. They look for this, for example, SDSS telescope, and they locate the galaxy in the universe. And this one single dot represents one galaxy, and how many of them is 1.2 million galaxies. There are 1.2 million galaxies. And then the next thing the theorists like to do, and also at that time people like to do, is talk about the power spectrum, of this galaxy distribution. And the power spectrum means what? Means the Fourier transform of this image, the Fourier transform of this image. And this is the Fourier transform, and we call this a power spectrum. And this is the power spectrum. Yeah. And this is the SDSS measurement. And cosmic microwave background, you can calculate the power spectrum from the CMB and isotropy and polarization, and this is the prediction of the power spectrum. And this mirror lensing, and also a small scale. A small scale is Lyman-Edwards force, and they can map the distribution of the matter in the universe in terms of this power spectrum. And one interesting thing I want to mention is so-called the BAO. And BAO was detected, first detected in how many years? So 10 years ago already, about 10 years ago. And what is the BAO? The BAO is you can see this is the CMB temperature fluctuation. This you can see a lot of, we call this acoustic observations. Acoustic observations. What's acoustic observations? On the large scale surface, before then, the universe was a plasma, a charged plasma. And we learned from E&M textbook, the plasma have frequency, oscillation frequency, offset. There's offset. And you can see this sound wave in the plasma. And this is the sound wave in the plasma. The first harmonic, the second harmonic, and the third harmonic. And this one is really important to pin down, for example, the fatness of the universe and the baryon content and the dark matter content. Yeah, by measuring this several, we call this acoustic peaks. And once the universe becomes transparent, neutral, and this plasma oscillations should have some imprint on the large scale structure. For example, some part of the baryon is denser than other, so you will expect some wiggles in the power spectrum. Wiggle means on large scale structure you will see this acoustic observation on this power spectrum, and this is the observation. Very tiny, and this is the power spectrum we have seen. This is the field. But on top of this big measurements, if you look at this the tiny observation, this is the detection there, and then there's another one. Yeah, this is so-called the baryon acoustic observations from CMB. Yeah, the CMB temperature fluctuation shows that the plasma is really oscillate on the last scale surface than before, and those leftover observation can be seen in the large scale structure power spectrum. This is the prediction and prediction. I also picked this BAO because people they also have prediction on this BAO, but unfortunately the prediction is based on a baryon dominated universe. We know the universe is dominated by dark matter, so the length scale is totally different. They have some prediction in the paper, but they assume a baryon dominated universe. Okay, and this is the summary research with James Peebles. We seeing cosmology go, and he built a theoretical framework for modern cosmology. Here went through the development of the cosmological measurements, and Peebles really left many footprints on the theoretical side of the experiment. And CMB, we have seen CMB is a very powerful tool to understanding the initial conditions of the early universe at very high redshift. And the large scale formation is a complementary to CMB measurements. We are really confidence overall the understanding of the universe. And the cosmology field is still a lot of experiments in the future. For example, LSST, another space telescope in the space, and also we have seen this CMB stage 4 experiment, And we are really targeted at a really high precision cosmology in the future. Okay, thank you very much.
All right. Now the floor is open for questions.
I have some comment and maybe a question. The comment is in the early days, other than Jim Peebles, the Russian school is very big in developing cosmology, especially in 1970 or so, 60, and also in England. Martin Rees is also a big figure. And Russian school is what is this guy Zidovich? Yeah, right. And so they I think their achievement are comparable. But as you say, Princeton School push this platform, Jim Peebles. And the question, or actually a comment, maybe you need to address the importance of BMO. It's related to a primordial gravitational wave, and it also set a constraint on the inflation scale compared with the Planck scale. That's why the value of R is very important. Is it? Yeah, maybe
Sure.
You can address that.
Yeah, the level of the number R will tell us the scale of the inflation. For example, if R is really low, that means somehow we believe in inflation, because the prediction is so great and they solve many problems, and also there's no alternative way. Maybe there's some stars colliding brain or something, but at the end, is the concept of inflation is there, and now it's very important to know when inflation happens. And by measuring the BMO or the visual R, we can tell you the scale of when inflation takes place. That is really gut scale. It's very important. We really gut scale, R is big enough, it's gut scale, then we may at least guarantee that we have some physics at gut scale, rather than it's really descent beyond the standard model. But again, the drawback is you may ask me what is your preference on the number of R. I would say I have no preference, including from 0 to what's the number there, 0.06. I can call any model to fit your data. That's the setting. Another setting is because of this, you don't know the number, and how can you get funding to fund the experiment? You measure R, then what's the R? You don't know. And how can the taxpayer give you money to study an unknown number? This is another drawback from in CMB in R.
Okay, any more? So will this gravitational wave provide some extra information to understand the?
You mean the current gravitational wave observation?
Yes.
That's another story. Yeah. The CMB now they use the BMO, the primordial gravitational wave generated during the Big Bang. They imprint on CMB and so-called the CMB BMO. But the CMB measurement is on very large scale, and 100 megapascal or beyond, And the gravitational wave they are talking about is the wavelength is comparable to the universe, so it's not the frequency on ground wave experiment, But somehow, if we believe in inflation, we have the beginning of the inflation, and then go through 60 evil. We call it 60 evil. And if somehow something happened before, for example, right before inflation, they could generate gravitational wave with frequency sensitive to ground-based gravitational wave detector. Yeah. So, ground-based detector can, I would say, ground-based detector, gravitational detector can probe inflation, because it's called beyond the slow regime. Yeah. This is CMB regime, and this is the beginning of inflation, and CMB taking care of it. And what happened in between the CMB scale and the end of inflation? Yeah, the ground-based gravitational detector can measure, have a probe on this regime. That's another interesting development in the past 2 years about using ground-based gravitational detector to probe inflation beyond the slow regime.
Right? Any more? Okay. If not, I'm gonna send the speaker again.